1 little, 2 little, 3 little sheepies, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little sheepies, 7 little, 8 little, 9 little sheepies, 10 little sheepies making us milk. Hi everybody, welcome back to Bustling Home. In 2021, we plan to make some substantial changes to the homestead. This year in 2020, we put in a 3,700 square foot vegetable garden, and this was the experimental year for that. So we didn't do all that well with it, but we didn't do terrible with it either. And we'll get into more detail about that in a later video. Today, I want to focus on what's going to be new next year, or possibly the year after that, depending on how finances and time work out. We plan to add some infrastructure, like a barn or a large shed, depending on what you want to call it, and then spaces for livestock. That's right, we're planning to add animals. This is going to be a first for both of us. Jeff grew up with a fruit orchard and a vegetable stand, so he's kind of got the plant thing down. But I don't think they ever had livestock, not even chickens. He had pets, like dogs and cats, but it's a little bit different, I think, raising animals for food. And especially if you're going to raise enough quantity to feed a family. So, what animals are we going to have on the homestead? First of all, chickens. Is it really a homestead without chickens? We're planning to have a flock of laying hens that we will keep throughout the year. Probably we'll aim for enough to feed the family, so we're figuring that was like, 50 chickens or something like that? We eat a lot of eggs, and we use a lot of eggs. Then we will have a rotating flock of meat birds, which we're not going to go with the usual Cornish cross. I think we're going to stick with a single breed that is dual purpose for laying and for meat, something like Buff Orpingtons or Barred Rock. Those are both fairly inexpensive breeds from a hatchery, and they are pretty good layers and they're pretty good meat birds. They're not the best at either, but they're not terrible at either. It's kind of redundant. Anyhow, both of those are supposed to be very hardy breeds of chicken, and they're both on the list as the best breeds for new chicken owners. The implication with chickens is that we need to build a chicken coop, and then we need to have a chicken run. Because with all the hawks around here, it's not going to be safe to let them roam free all the time, or at least not very much. Maybe we'll be able to teach the dogs to watch over them without eating them. We'll see. Besides chickens, we're thinking about getting sheep. That's right, sheep. Not goats, not cows, sheep. These sheep we would use for milk and for meat. Sheep can also be used for fiber, but at this point we're not too interested in that because we can't eat it. So for milk, sheep produce milk that is twice as fatty and has twice the protein compared to cow milk and goat milk. So that means twice the butter. I like butter. One of the differences with sheep milk is that it comes naturally homogenized. So we would have to dehomogenize it, probably by freezing it and then thawing it, so that the fat would separate out from the liquid. So not a big deal, it's still doable. And sheep milk is one of the best milks for making things like yogurt and cheese because it is so dense in nutrients. So instead of making double strength cow milk with some powdered milk in order to make our Greek yogurt, we just use sheep milk straight up, or maybe skim the cream off to make butter, and then use the milk straight up to make fat-free yogurt, or close to fat-free yogurt at least. And then cheeses. We are in Wisconsin, and I so love cheese. We got a variety pack of sheep cheese from Amazon or something like that, and we tried them, and one of them was really stinky. It was kind of like the blue cheese of sheep cheese. But it still tasted pretty good in small quantities, kind of like blue cheese. One of them was more like a Parmesan, and that was good. Not necessarily good as an eating cheese, but it's very good as a seasoning, just like Parmesan. Then there was the Manchego, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. That was awesome. That was like a really good aged cheddar, and I love aged cheddar, like Dubliner cheddar from Ireland. So if we had sheep, we'd be able to make our own fresh cheese, kind of like mozzarella, and then we'd be able to start our own aged cheeses and just store them in the basement. And one of the things that you pay for with an aged cheese is just having it sit on a shelf somewhere. I think that alone would save us a fair amount of money if we could make our own cheeses in the basement. Then as far as drinking the milk, I have never had sheep milk to drink, and I would like to try it before we invest in sheep just to make sure that when we get sheep, we're actually going to like the milk. I know I like the cheese. I am pretty sure I'll like the yogurt. But I want to try the milk by itself because goat milk is goaty, cow milk is what I'm used to, and sheep milk, is it going to be sheepy? What even is sheepy? What does a sheep taste like? I don't know. I got to find out. So one of our projects this winter is try out all these products to see if we actually want to grow them. Then, along with the sheep, we have to have a shelter for the sheep. And this is probably the simplest infrastructure addition that we're going to make. Because sheep are covered in wool. Wool keeps them warm. Wool keeps people warm. Wool keeps everything warm and dry. So for sheep, all they really need is kind of this lean-to type thing with a roof, 3 walls, and then maybe a partial wall on one side, as long as it has good ventilation and keeps them out of the worst of the wind and weather. So that's not too bad. It's nowhere near as involved as a chicken coop, for instance. It has to be a pretty much fully enclosed building with a roosting area and a nesting area and a cleanable floor and all this other stuff. The breed of sheep that we're looking at is called Icelandic sheep. And again, these are good multi-purpose sheep. They're not the best milk producers, and they're not the best meat producers. But they do a pretty good job at both, so that's good enough. And they are a hardy breed. Again, hardy breeds are great for beginners like us, because we don't know what we're doing. We're willing to learn, but right now, no idea. Our third potential livestock idea is rabbits, and Jeff is less certain of this. I think it would probably be a good addition, but it might be in a later year. We might try like chickens and sheep next year and then add rabbits some other time once we have time to get some rabbit cages in and get our feet wet with chickens and sheep. But the great thing about rabbits is, in case you hadn't heard, they breed prolifically. Like a lot of rabbit all the time. And they grow fast. So in about 10 to 12 weeks, with not too much feed, you have a full-grown rabbit. From what I have read, at least, in those early weeks, rabbits have one of the best feed-to-meat conversion ratios. So that means you have to spend less on feeding the rabbit per pound of meat that you get back from it. And yeah, rabbits are cute and fluffy and everything, but they're also kind of nasty. Have you seen those big pointy teeth? They are rodents and they bite things. So for infrastructure for rabbits, we would have to build cages. And I think I have even less of an idea of how to take care of rabbits than I do chickens and sheep. Which, I don't know much about chickens and sheep either. I don't know if it's a good idea to take on all of it at once because, what the heck, may as well, we've done everything else all at once. Or if we should take a more cautious approach and try chickens for a bit, then add sheep a little bit later, then add rabbits a little bit later. What do you think? Is it better to just do it all at once and figure out everything all at once, or should we do one at a time? Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you like this kind of content, hit the thumbs up below. If you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell notification so that you are notified every time I put out a video on homesteading, homeschooling, or home management. I'd love to have you stick around. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.